Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new tier 10 premium medium tank, the Projet Murat. Now the Projet Murat is a French tier 10 premium medium tank that it has a 3-shot autoloader with 390 alpha. And is it an okay tank? Yeah, it's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I do think it's a pretty decent tank and it does what it does pretty well because it's pretty mobile. It goes at like nearly 60 kilometers an hour. It's got really good camo, really good view range, and the 3-shot is nice. I just wish it fired a little bit quicker, but apart from that, it's pretty nice. The gun handling's good. The shell velocity is great. On the whole, it's a pretty damn decent tier 10 medium tank. Is it out of this world crazy? I wouldn't say it is. No, not at all. But is it by any means bad? No. It's not my kind of tank. I like things that have got just a little bit more armor, essentially. But this does have armor. Saying that, it does have turret armor. It can bounce shots. But it's not absolutely incredibly reliable, right? And for 6,000 gold, or 4,000 gold, really, absolutely worth picking up. As is all tier 10 premiums if they're in the ultimate pass. Because technically, it's 4,000 gold. Because it costs you 6,000 gold to get the ultimate pass, but you do get 2,000 gold plus a little bit more back from completing the season. So if you're going to complete the season, you may as well pick up the ultimate pass and get this tank for 4,000 gold. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, you're never going to get a tier 10 premium any cheaper than that, because most of them are 22,000 gold. So for 4,000 gold, absolutely. And you're picking yourself up a pretty decent medium tank as well. It's not like it's a terrible tank and it's like, oh, no, it's horrible to play, because it's not. It's pretty damn good. And it's got quite a lot going for it. Like I said, the only thing for me, really, is that I kind of wish the intro clip was a little bit quicker. But apart from that, yeah. So without further ado, let's get into the statistics of the old Projet Murat. And that's the, if you want to pause and read, that's the history of it, etc., etc. on the right. So let's get into the statistics. You got 1,200 horsepower engine with a 60 km/h top speed and a 21 km/h reverse speed. The 28.57 horsepower per ton ratio as well means you're going to hit the 60 km/h quite nicely, and you will definitely hit it. It's pretty good. 21 km/h reverse speed is pretty decent as well for going backwards. If you need to back out a dodge, that's pretty damn quick, which is great. And yeah, like I said, the 28.57 horsepower per ton is going to help you get that top speed. You've got 1,900 hit points, which is pretty okay, but there's a fair few that are starting to push that 2k, 2.1k at tier 10 medium tanks, but still 1,900 is not too bad. You've got 44 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which is fine. You've got 2.3 on soft terrain, 1.1 on medium, and 1 on firm. Could be better. If you wanted to, you could make that better yourself to help you, but you do hit that top speed fine anyway, so you don't really need to touch the ground resistances too much. You've got 327 meters of still concealment, which is absolutely fantastic, with 353 on the move concealment, which, again, you'll try and knock down with something like silent driving, something like that, because a lot of the strength of this tank is stealth, and it's very, very good at it. And add to that, you've got 410 meters of view range, which is absolutely fantastic. You can rack up, and you're going to see that in the replays, you can rack up a lot of spotting very, very easily, and you can just destroy people's camo. And having that view range will help you get closer to them to be able to spot them and degrade their camo and not get spotted yourself, which is absolutely lovely for the tank. And that 410 meters view range is absolutely fantastic. You've got 36 degrees a second on the turret rotation, which is slower, yet again, than your hull rotation. So bear in mind, if you're trying to track something on your left with your turret, do not turn your tracks the opposite way. Turn your tracks the same way as the target that you're following, and you will be able to keep your turret on target. And in fact, your tracks will probably out-traverse your turret. You've got 0.69 accuracy during rotation, which is actually pretty damn good for a base rotation stat. So that's pretty nice. You can knock that down with stuff like snapshot and vertical stabilizers. You really, because of how good that is, you don't really need to take snapshot too much. You've got 20 degrees of elevation, and one of the things that is absolutely incredible about this tank, 12 degrees of gun depression. Yes, you've got 12 degrees of gun depression. A lot like the Swedish tank, not the Swedish heavy tanks. There we go, get there in the end, and the siege mode tanks. But you have 12 degrees of gun depression, which is absolutely incredible and makes you a god on a ridgeline. You can get so many more shots than a fair few other tanks can on a lot of different ridgelines. So that is a massive asset for the tank. Absolutely fantastic. You've got a 28-second reload, which I kind of wish it was a little bit quicker kind of like the TVP in terms of its reload, but you can't have it all. You've got 5.45 rounds per minute rate of fire, which is that 28 seconds. You've got 0.32 accuracy base, which is really, really goddamn nice. You've got 2.88 on the move accuracy, which you can knock down with run and gun and vertical stabilizer. Well, you can just knock down with run and gun and stuff. You probably definitely want to make that better, because then you can keep the gun bloom narrowed in. You've got a 2-second aim time, which is absolutely fantastic. Yet again, means that your gun aims in so fast, and you're ready to get going. And it's actually faster than your intro clip as well, which is great. So basically, by the time your shell is back in, you are aimed up. And the 2.5 second intro clip is something that, again, I just kind of wish it was more like 2 seconds or 2.25 seconds, whatever. I kind of wish it was 2 seconds, because it feels like this tank sometimes you get one in, you get two in, and then sometimes you can't quite get the third in. And I just wish it was just that little bit quicker. The way the tank plays, it feels like it should be a little bit quicker than 2.5 seconds, but it's not slow. It's not in like 3 seconds or 3.33 seconds or something like that, like a fair few of the other tanks have. It's still pretty damn good. I wish it was just a little bit quicker. That's just one of my gripes. Only small gripe, though. You got 2,100 DPM, which, yeah, it's because you reload in like 30 seconds nearly, and also you're, with dropping the clip and stuff like that. Not the best, if we're honest, but again, that's why I kind of wish the inch clip was a little bit better and stuff, and that was just a slight bit faster, just only a tiny bit. Like a second or two, it's really, really not much at all. But again, that's just a small gripe. If there was a gripe, that's a small gripe. You've got 261 APCR pen, because you can see here you've got APCR, heat, and HE. You've got 261 APCR pen, 330 heat pen with 53 HE pen. With the ammo situation, you're probably not going to take a HE clip, just because you want to keep as much ammo as you can to be able to actually effectively pen stuff, and 53 HE pen isn't that great anyway. So it's in line with a lot of tanks, to be fair, but so down to you whether you want to take an actual HE clip. You've got 390 alpha, as you can see, and 480 on the HE, and you've got 1,575 meters of shell velocity on the APCR, 1,100 meters a second shell velocity on the heat, and 700 on the HE. So yet again, if you load the HE, just bear in mind that your shell velocity is not very good at all, and you really have to lead it as opposed to your standard and your premium round. And again, if you load the heat rounds, just know that you are going to have to, again, lead your targets more than you will with the APCR, sorry. The APCR 1,575 meters a second is absolutely fabulous. Means you don't really have to lead your targets all that much. And as it is a tier 10 premium tank, it just doesn't really get any bonuses, so that is something that goes against it naturally as a tier 10 premium, same as the tier 9 premiums, that they don't get any bonuses whatsoever. The only thing is you can put whatever crew you want in to the tank, pretty much, right? So that's the only bonus. I kind of wish that it had crew XP bonuses or something like that, just to make it a little bit more worth it. Because if this tank is 22,000 gold, this tank's definitely not worth it. Well, nothing's worth 22,000 gold in this game. But since it's 4k gold with the Ultimate Pass, like I say, if you get the Ultimate Pass, you get 2,000 gold back. Yeah. Well, absolutely worth it. So let's have a look actually quickly at the armor model. As you can see, this is why I say that it's kind of not got armor but does. It has 250 millimeters of armor on that gun mantlet, which is solid. And when you're using your gun depression and stuff like that, if they hit this gun mantlet, they are going to bounce a fair amount of shots unless they're firing really high pen premium rounds, essentially, which a lot of people do at tier 10, so moot point. But if they're firing standards, or you're playing against tier 8s or 9s, and they're firing standard, they will bounce a decent amount off your turret front. But you do have to bear in mind that the cheek next to it is 150 millimeters thick, so if they shoot around your gun mantlet, and also, yeah, it's actually 150 millimeters thickness behind the gun mantlet, so that, because we can't tell effectively, you have to kind of guess, but you can imagine that means that gun mantlet's really, really good. But they can shoot either to the left or right of the gun mantlet, and if they do catch these positions here, these little cheeks, they will pen it, so it's something you've got to bear in mind, that if you're poking, keep wiggling on that ridge line. Keep wiggling as much as possible, make it as hard as possible for them to hit those cheeks. And in terms of the upper plate, you have 70mm of armour on the upper plate, really well angled, so it's kind of like the Progetto in a way, the 65, that is the Italian medium tank, where the thickness isn't that great, but because of the sloping, I've had it again where you do ricochet shots a fair amount, which is definitely quite nice. You ricochet shots that you don't expect to, and especially if they're firing APCR, it could ricochet off that upper plate. And the lower plate is very fat, and very easy to hit if we go find it. It's 160mm of thickness. It is sloped, but at the end of the day, it's really easy to hit, and a lot of people will just go straight through it, especially since this is a tier 10 medium. They will go through it very, very easily every single time. And bear in mind that your tracks are 20mm of thickness, whereas the side armour here, 45mm thick. So, what, 150mm guns are going to go through you, which is, because there's not many guns that are below that caliber, well, you know, in that range to be able to pen 45mm of armour. 150mm plus caliber guns will go through that armour there, so you've got to be careful that when you're facing big guns could overmatch you, and you can see it on this side plate here as well. The big guns will overmatch you, so be careful of that. And it is a weird looking design of a tank, by the way, as you've noticed the tracks here. This is one of those that I hope when we one day get the Yo tanks, that maybe we'll get the reserve track mechanic that they have, where, you know, if someone blows your tracks off, you can still keep moving, but with a very, very limited capacity. That'd be pretty cool if that happens. But yeah, who knows? Let's have a look at the commander and equipment setup that I run then on this tank, or I've been running so far. And that is, I run optics to boost my view range as high as possible, vertical stabilizers to be able to get my gun handling as good as it can be, and advanced concealment to be able to make my camo as filthy as possible. Now, there's many ways you can set up the Projet Murat. This isn't the right way. This isn't the correct way. There is no correct way. It's down to how you play the tank and your playstyle. I play this aggressively, but in aggressive spotting capacity, so I want to make sure that I have the best view range I possibly can have, and also the best camo I can humanly have, which is what I do. But you could quite easily go, okay, 60 kilometers an hour, this tank's not quick enough, I want to go at 66, and you could put the traction system on if you wanted to. You could think, okay, I want to maximise the DPM and make the reload as good as it humanly can be, and you could put vents on. It's completely down to you how you want to set up the tank. That's just how I run it. I run the crew that's in this old Bat Chatillon. So what do I run on this crew? I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic, Camouflage Expertise, and Silent Driving. I run these two camouflage perks because I want to make my camo as good as it can be, so I knock it down so I don't get spotted as easily while I'm on the move, and Camouflage Expertise to make my camo, again, just as good as it can be humanly. Trap Mechanic, because I found that I got tracked a hell of a lot, and I didn't run Trap Mechanic originally. I was running something like, I think I was running Muffled Shot instead, but I kept getting tracked, and I was getting stuck where I'd use my repair kit, and then I was just tracked out in the open, and it took forever to get the tracks on. I lost most of my hit points. So I reduced the ability for them to, I reduced how long I was staying out in the open while tracked with Trap Mechanic on. And these two perks, because you always want to make yourself, you're always taking these 5 perks in World War II. Always, always, always. And then Run and Gun to make my accuracy 10% better on the move, because it's quite nice to have that ability to shoot on the move. And yeah, let's go have a look at the statistics of this tank while it's fully equipped. And that is that we have now got the same top speed, we've got slightly better ground resistances, 275 meters of steel concealment, which is great, 285 meters of steel concealment on the move, steel concealment, on the move concealment, we'll get there, English, which means that, yeah, you're only 10 off your actual, you're nearly a light tank in that regard, you're only 10 meters of concealment off of your steel concealment. 525 meters view range, which is absolutely overkill. You do not need to get it this high if you don't want to, but it destroys people's camo ratings, and it means that you spot tanks a lot further out, and you basically, things like Tyrans. I found that I spot Tyrans a little bit easier than I do in a lot of other tanks. Same as I would do in an M60 or an M48 or something like that that's got 420 view range, and you've maxed it out. You can actually spot those pesky, sneaky tanks a lot easier. So that's why I maximise it, but realistically, you could run vents instead of optics, and you'd probably still be at like 480, 490 meters view range, something like that. You know what, I'll put vents on in a second and we'll have a look. You've got 39 degrees a second of turret rotation speed now, which is catching up to your hull rotation, but it's still slower. 0.43 accuracy during rotation now, which is, what was that, 12.12 better? You've got 22.69 second reload. We haven't really focused too much on that reload, though, because you can't run a rammer, and all we've got is Born Leader to help it out. And we've got 0.26 accuracy, which is great. 1.84 aim time as well is also absolutely fantastic. Absolutely lovely to have that sort of aim time. 1.64 accuracy during movement as well is lovely in of itself too. So yeah, let's have a quick look at what would happen to the view range if we put vents on instead of optics. So we dropped some vents on. As you can see, you've still got 488 meters of view range, which is still good enough. And then your reload goes up a little bit more as well and stuff like that. Better aim time down to 1.81. It just makes everything slightly better having vents. Again, you could decide, you know what, screw vents, I'm just going to run the traction system instead. You still got 477 meters view range, which again is still fantastic. Once you're getting over that 445 meter view range cap, you're starting to decrease people's camera ratings, and that's what you can still do with 477 meters view range. The base view range of 410 is fantastic. You don't have to kit it out for view range if you don't want to. I just do it because, well, yeah, I like to be able to spot targets at stupid distances so I can get some crazy spotting games. But yeah, that is the Murat, and yeah, the Projet Murat is... it's pretty damn nice to play. Again, it's not really my thing as a tank. I don't know. I haven't really enjoyed it, but it's not like I've not enjoyed it because it's crap. I've just played it because I feel like it's pretty. I just don't like it. 'Cause it's not my kind of thing really. I can still, even though I don't really like it, I can still say yeah, it's pretty okay. But yeah, as always, everyone, I'm going to send you over to the replays where you can go and enjoy yourselves, go see what this tank can handle, see what this tank can do, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy the replays. So I'll see you over there. So here we are on the replays with the Projet Murat, and we're on the first replay of 5. Yes, you're going to get 5 solid replays for your faces to see just how this tank handles, a multitude of range of results. And we're on the first game, and that is, we are on Redshire, which is quite a nice map for this tank, because obviously there's a lot of ridge lines, there's a lot of ridge lines for this 12 degrees of gun depression to work. And as you can see, one of the features of this tank, you know when you depress the gun, it's kind of like the Armour Panzerwagen in that way. The top of the turret sort of depresses too, which is really quite cool. It looks really cool. I do think this tank looks funky, and it's a pretty cool looking tank. It's just one of those interesting ones to look at. Like, I love the multi-track that it's got, and like I say, I hope that one day when we get the Yo tanks, if they bring in the reserve track mechanic that the Yo tanks have, that we could have that. That would be wonderful. And I think this tank could probably have that in itself. And yeah, in just that multi-track system looks awesome, and then just the way that the gun depresses as well, it just looks pretty cool. And as you can see, on this first replay on Redshire, we've pushed quite aggressively to this little ridge here. And that's because, again, we can use our gun depression to pretty nice effect here on this ridge. And it can be pretty damn useful for going against tanks. Unless they YOLO use. This Batchat's come in. He's still going. Oh, we unfortunately RBRT and missed that shell there on the Batchat. That's frustrating. We shouldn't have RBRT'd that. But we do get 2 of our 3 shells into that guy, and he loses pretty much all of his hit points just to do that. And yeah, we're reloading. And the gun handling is pretty damn good as long as you actually aim. We managed to hit those 2 shots on that Batchat, but we should have aimed, because we would have been able to hit the third. And if we'd hit the third, we might have tracked him and he might have got out of the game. But hey-ho. We're just going to push up to the little ridge in front of us to see if we can get any shots across at the guys that are at E0, but there was no one there, so it's like, okay, I'm going to push across and get a cheeky shot into this Murat. But now I'm going to back up if I can, because there we go, we start getting shots thrown at us from... it's about F9, something like that, because at the minute, there's a fair few of their tanks. You know, we've got a couple of their medium tanks spotted in front of us, but there's a lot of tanks unspotted on that other flank, and our team hasn't really gone that way. We're just going to pop over and use our 12 degrees of gun depression to get the final 2 shells into that M46A1, which we do, and now we're reloading again. That Batchat did come over and finish off our 65T. Our other Murat has gone over to try and finish him off. And hopefully he does end up getting rid of him. There's not much we can do at this point because we are stuck reloading, and there we go, the Batchat ends up getting shut down. Now the Batchat's gone though, there's nothing else in their next dip, so I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm going to push into the next dip and see if we can find some cheeky shots and push this flank as hard as we can. We end up getting a shot towards the cupola of that M48A2 pattern, but unfortunately we end up ricocheting because that pattern did actually get buffed very, very recently in terms of the armor and stuff like that. And yeah, we ended up ricocheting, but he did spot us as well, which is kind of awkward. We're just trying to feather a shot into his cupola, but even at 12 degrees of gun depression could not help us there on that little ridge. Artillery's trying to get a shot at us at this current moment in time, and it's like, nope, no, don't do it, Artie, please. Please don't do it. Thank you for missing, sir. He ends up missing the shot, and we're just waiting for the reload once again to be able to get going. I just kind of wish that to be honest, for me, it's either the main clip reload. I mean, 22.7 seconds on the clip reload is pretty damn nice. I feel like the intro clip, I just wish this intro clip was just a little bit quicker. But you can still dish out the damage fast enough, as you've just seen that Iron Rain get deleted. We've got one shell left in the clip, and we slap it straight into the artillery. Now we're getting detected, and it's like, oh god, and we get royally slapped. We went from 1,400 hit points to 339, all in the blink of an eye. Just like that. I think we're quite lucky, to be honest. I think we got hit by something for like 400, 500, like a normal shot, and I think we got hit by Hesh by something like a Centurion AVRE or a 4005. Just by the sound. It could have been heat as well, because the heat makes a similar sound to HE, but I feel like we got lucky there that we just didn't blow up. Is what it is. We pushed a little bit too aggressively, and it's what happens. And there, the Paladin and the Foch 155 get spotted up on the other flank. Just looking for shots into him, but we did get detected as we pulled forward, and I was like, nah, not doing that. Now we do have some cheeky shots into the side of the Foch, so we get one in, and he's just back behind that cover, so we can't quite get the second shot into the Foch. But again, I was thinking of possibly going after the Murat there, but I didn't want to poke over and get spotted again in that similar situation, because that would be my death. We're now looking for a shot into the side of this M48A2, and we're not getting detected at this point, so you know what? I'm just going to poke over and just wait to give the shots in, because we're not detectors. That means nothing's looking at us. We get the 2 shots in to shut down that M48A2 pattern, and I put ourselves onto 4.1k damage with 507 assistance, which is going pretty damn nicely so far. Just waiting for the reload before we move on and do the next thing, and we know that there's 5 tanks left on the enemy team. We know there's quite a few of them at F8, F9, on those ridges over there at the error mound. Yeah, over there, basically. We know they're there, so it's like, okay, you know what? We're going to push. We're going to push towards their spawn hill. We're going to try and push towards that spawn hill and see if we can spot anything. So we've boosted our view range with food. We've pushed to this first bit of concealment, this first tree that's been knocked down, to see if we could see anything at all. We can't see anything, so it's like, okay, the next port of call is running to get underneath that ridgeline over there where that barn is. And we're going to try to avoid the cap as well to not give ourselves away. So I was just as we're going, we end up seeing the CC1 Mark II, which is an awkward spot for him to spot me, because I was thinking, oh god, I can get shot by the TDs over there, but nothing quite happens, and it's like, right, okay, we're going to push in to see if we can get some cheeky shots into this CC Mark II. Because we've got the gun depression, we can definitely do it. And we're getting some assistance on him, so we spot him up. We get detected, and it's like, oh, that's kind of awkward. Okay, right. So this CC Mark II is actually starting to come over. I'm trying to go for the drive wheel with potato aim, miss. We go to try and get a shot into the lower plate. We completely cock that up, and the 4005 ends up shutting us down. But we do end up finishing that game with a victory, thankfully, since our team carried it through to it. We finished with 4.1k damage, 707 assistance, the 3rd class, and 1122 base XP. Again, a pretty bang average game for the Murat there on that map. We made mistakes there, which ended up costing us our tank and anything that we could have done there. Is what it is. We're on the second replay, and the second replay, we're on mines, which I didn't realise mines was being put up to tier 10 again, but okay. Realistically, mines is one of those that should stay as tier 8 minus, but we'll stick with it. And we are going to do the most important thing on mines, and that is go to the hill. We've got to win the hill, win mines. That is the way it happens. That's the way it rolls. So we're going to rush up onto the hill and try and win this game from that position, because the hill is an all-important aspect of this map. So just as we get up on top of the hill, we end up getting snapped by the M46 pattern, and unfortunately we end up missing our shot. But now we're going to try and drop the final 2 into this 140 that's spotted, and unfortunately we take an absolutely massive hit there from the back of the map. And looking at the team listing, it was probably the Turan. The Turan ended up absolutely slapping us up and taking away 1,000 hit points pretty much there, which was lovely of him to do. And we're only on 700 damage with 314 assistance. So we're just waiting for the reload. And what I'm going to do is boost with food, because we've got the reloading quicker, and it makes our view range as good as humanly possible. We poke through the bushes and end up spotting the Tyran, which is glorious, and this Murat at the back, and they both end up the Tyran ends up losing a little bit of hit points, but the Murat gets absolutely trashed. And we're up to 1700 damage and 1500 assistance, and we're just going to now sit in this bush with our view range, spotting all the guys that are at the back, and hopefully my team will start firing some shots into them. We're just going to poke into this bush as much as we humanly can do to try and make it so that, you know, we're covering as much spotting area as possible. But now we've got our clip in, it's time to go to town on this Murat. We get the tracking shot in, which is absolutely beautiful, and we managed to get all 3 shots into him, and he is out of there because the T-92 ends up hitting him as well. So once again, we're just going to poke round the corner to see if we can spot anything else through the bushes, but we poke out of the bush a little bit too much, and therefore the other Murat over there ends up spotting us because this game is Murat heavy. And we are now loaded, so it's time to see where we can dump this clip. We do have to be careful again because we're on 441 hit points, and that could end quite badly for us. We get one shot into the Murat, but we start getting detected. It's like, oh god, that's an AVRE. I don't want to get shot by an AVRE. And we just try and get some awkward shots into that AVRE, but they don't go in. But we did end up spotting him, which is glorious, which means we're starting to rack up some more assistance on this bloke. And we're up to 3.3k damage with 3k assistance. The artillery gets lit up, and I'm like, oh, come on, gun. Get the reload in. I so want to shoot this 261. So we managed to get the shots into reload 1, and it's just like, where is this 261? Unfortunately, we don't hit it with the second blind fire, and that means we've only got 1 shell left. And it's like, okay, I need to get off the hill now because their team is starting to crumble, and that means that, well, this position on the hill is not worth it anymore. The 261 actually tried to blind fire us there, nearly. But we went for the reload because I felt like I was not going to get... Well, I feel like I was going to get a chance to reload before the enemy team goes down, but unfortunately for me, they all end up getting absolutely shut down. And we finished the game with a really nice total for the Projet Murat, finished with the epic victory, 3.7k damage, 3k assistance, the third class, 1244 base XP. A pretty damn decent game for the Murat. Again, it showed off its spotting capabilities, it showed off its camo, and... you know, just how nice the gun handling as well. When you do need to hit those shots, like that shot at the other Murat where I hit his track and tracked it in place, then you can go to town on them. And it's definitely quite nice for that. And the gun handling on this tank is absolutely fantastic. The aim time, the accuracy, the shell velocity, it's very, very nice. And it's a pretty decent platform for it as well. I think it's a pretty okay to good medium tank. It's just, I don't know, I haven't clicked with it, I think is what I'll probably say for it. I just haven't clicked with it. I would probably rather be in a TVP, maybe, but the TVP doesn't have quite as good camo and stuff like that as well. I don't know. I think a lot of people will enjoy this tank, and like I say, for 4,000 gold, it is absolutely worth it, because it's not a stinker at all. It's a pretty damn solid tank, and you can have some pretty damn nice games in it. So as you can see, we're on the third replay. And the third replay, we are on this map, which is... We'll get there. Lakeville! Lakeville! It's Lakeville, isn't it? Yes, it's Lakeville. We've taken the position at E4, because at E4, we can spot up the enemy team that have gone along the K line. And unfortunately, we just get spotted there by that tiger shark. Didn't quite want that. I was thinking my camo might be just about good enough to keep me unspotted there. But we're using the good view range that we have to try and keep the enemy lit, because you can see my allies have pushed through the town quite aggressively, so we need to keep we need to get the enemy team spotted up that are over there. This Murat's made a mistake. He's pushed into us. We get the shot in to track him in place. I was kind of hoping to finish him off with the last shell, but it doesn't quite happen. And that threat that was coming charging towards us is now gone. Once again, we're just waiting for the reload to come in before we start to move and to get unspotted. Now I kind of want to push forward again and see if we can spot for my TD friends and my medium tank friends, because we have to push this flank quite aggressively and quite quickly, because you can see they started to push through the valley along the 2 line, which means, yeah, we're possibly going to get wrecked through... We could get capped quite easily right now. So we just need to push through and see if we can spot the enemy team. We poke over this ridge and end up getting spotted and thinking, oh, is that medium tank? No, it was the Vanguard. We get a shot in to shut down that pest. Pest control at your service. Get out of here, little pest. And the Vanguard is out. But something did shoot us there without getting spotted. And I think it was that Udez from earlier on. He's got good enough camo to shoot at us and not get spotted, even though we've got fantastic view range. So what we're going to do is we are just going to sit and wait to see if we get a chance to shoot them. And unfortunately, just as we get the shot of that tiger shark, bad timing there. The Murat ends up, not the Murat, the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen ends up driving past us, and we are now waiting on our reload. And as you can see, like I say, the base has started to be under attack. So we need to get back and defend the base if we humanly can do, because, well, we want to win this game, right? And you always have to pay attention to your minimap. Always, always, always pay attention to the minimap, and therefore you'll be ready to shoot the things that are coming into positions where you might be able to get some cheeky shots into them. So as you've seen, I've seen that they've pushed along the A2 line, and we get spotted there because we don't poke enough. It's like, oh god, that's an AVRE, don't do it. Thank you for missing. Okay. We get the tracking shot into the 705A, which is exactly what we wanted, and we finish off the 705A. That tracking shot was perfect because it meant that that guy ended up being in a position where I could just shoot him and finish him off. We're up to 3.2k damage with 3.2k assistance, so pretty balanced so far. And we're just waiting for the reload to come in to be able to get some shots into the Andre. And now we're reloaded. This Andre is completely oblivious to us. It's like, hello, Mr. Andre, just let me get some shots into you. We end up tracking him in place, which feeds us a load of assistance. We didn't quite pen that, which is sad. But we did get the assistance on the tracking, so we'll take it. There's only one tank left on the enemy team, and he's currently in the valley getting swamped, and we don't get anywhere near it. And we finished the game with 3.6k damage with 4.3k assistance. The epic victory, what's that, like 7, nearly 8k combined. The Confederate Medal, the second class, 1501 base XP. A pretty decent game for the Project Murat once again. Again, showing off the mobility, showing off the camo and the view range for the tank to be able to pick up that decent chunk of assistance that you can get in this tank. So now we're on to the third replay, and actually, it's the fourth replay. It's the fourth replay, and we are on Duckler Pass. So on Duckler Pass, we are going to push pretty aggressively, and that is I'm going to push to the position at D4, because at D4 you can get some good shots across the one line if you do sit in that position, and you can spot up the enemy team as they're pushing that way. And if you have enough people sitting back at C6, C7, they can also get some nice shots across and help you out. It's a pretty damn aggressive position to take, but it's pretty nice when it works out. So, yeah, the Murat, as you can see, is quick enough to get across this gap. It's one of those that you do wish it was just a little bit quicker, and that's where traction system, again, could help you out if you want to do, and you can get up to 66 kilometers an hour, and you can hit 66 kilometers an hour very, very easily, and, you know, you'll have a good time. So, as you can see, we boost our view range with food, and we are going to poke over to see if we can get some shots into this medium tank that gets spotted, which is another Murat. We get a shot in that unfortunately only does track damage. We get a second shot into his lower plate, and the third shot straight into his lower plate without taking any shots in return, which is glorious. We're up to nearly 800 damage for that, and I'm just keeping him lit up. Although we did get detected, and I think it was something else, and there we go. We end up spotting the Murat on the other side, and we bounced the shot off our turret there, which is lovely stuff. Like I say, the turret front on this Murat is pretty decent. And when you are hulled down and using gun depression and stuff like that, you can bounce a decent amount of shots with it, which is definitely very, very nice. So, yeah, we're just looking for some shots into the Murat and see if we could. And I think, you know what? Okay, the Murat over there is the only one. He's the only one over there at D1. So it's like, right, okay, you know what? We're going to push over and get some shots into these guys from over here. And we're going to see if we can get a different angle at that Murat at D1. In the hopes that we can get, you know, some extra damage off. We try and snap the shot into the Centurion 7-1 that gets spotted up. That's a silly shot to take. We were never going to hit it. And we managed to get a shot in to track the 7-1 and deliver the final shot in to shut him down. Just going to wait on the reload now. Thankfully, that Murat over there didn't manage to get the shot in to be able to get another shot into us, because at this point in time we're up to 1500 damage with the full HP, which is great. And we're just going to boost our view range and our our DPM with the food if we can, and then we're going to poke over and see if we can get some shots into the Cent 7-1. That Murat's actually pulled back round the other side of the rocks, which means he's not going to get a chance to really poke up and get some shots into us. We get a nice shot snapped into the Murat there to put him down to a one-shot. Unfortunately, we missed the second shot, and I'm like, hang on a minute, where's that Cent 7-1 gone? Okay, he's not coming for us, sure. Let's shut down this Murat. He's a one-shot, unless RNG intervenes. Leave him on 1 HP and a dream. God damn you, mercy rolls. That saves that Murat. Then the Centurion 7-1 comes over, and I'm thinking, how is the Centurion 7-1 coming round? That's too aggressive. He should be getting absolutely blown to smithereens by my mediums from behind, but no one's actually looking this way, so we're kind of alone in that regard. But now we're loaded. It's like, well, I'm just going to take the chance. If he's firing Hesh, he won't pen me while I'm hull down, so, which is exactly what happens. We unfortunately bounce the shot off his upper plate, but we get the second shot in. We do take a hit from the Murat, though. He only hits for like 100 with the Hesh, so glorious, glorious times. And we're just going to pull back as far as it can round this corner, because, once again, if that Centurion 7-1 ends up pushing us, he can quite easily get the shots into us, and he wasn't really going to get shut down. But he ends up getting shot by the tanks at D3, which is another Murat or two, and he's gone. Now there's this Projet 66, which I wasn't expecting, so thankfully we managed to snap the shot in and finish him off, because we need the hit points. The Murat that was on our left is now gone, because he gets shut down by our Type 61, and there's just the Leopard 1 and the other Murat, which we're keeping our eye on. We're making sure he can't quite shoot us, but there's a Leopard 1 directly in front of us, so we're just going to aim up the shot, slap a shot through the turret of the Leopard 1, just waiting for him to give us an even nicer shot, because he is still driving straight up. We get the final shot into, well, the final shot of the clip into that Leopard 1, and now we're waiting for the reload once again. We're up to 4.1k damage, and we know where most of the enemy team is now. They pushed along the J line, and they were pushing along the 9 line, so we kind of have to be careful, because we have to get back to the base and defend it if we can. But they've also seemed to have pushed across the open, so this chieftain is completely caught out. We get one shot into him, which has tracked him, and we get a huge amount of assistance on that. We try and RBRT the shot into the Centurion AVRE, and unfortunately that shot into the AVRE doesn't go anywhere near, well, it hits him but doesn't go anywhere near penning him. It must have hit the shovel sledge, whatever it is, on the front of the AVRE, and we ended up bouncing. Well, we're nearly reloaded, and once again, we're going to go try and find another shot, if we can, somewhere else. So the AVRE over there was spotted, but he ends up getting shut down. I'm just seeing if I can get the other guys into render range, but I can't. And there's this other AVRE in the distance. Now, with 12 degrees of gun depression, we can use this position pretty decently, because there's a lot of tanks that will struggle with this position because the rocks are a little bit too sharp, but with 12 degrees of gun depression, you're always going to have a good time. And this AVRE is driving out sideways on for us, which is glorious. We get 1 in, 2 in, and this is where I kind of wish the intro clip was a little bit faster, and unfortunately we can't quite get the 3rd shell into that AVRE. That puts us up to 5.6k damage with 390 blocked and 832 assistance, and that AVRE that we got some shots into down there ends up getting shut down by our medium tanks. And for the sake of everybody, I'm going to save us the 2 minutes of driving where I don't get any more shots at those guys, so because this video is already long enough. And we're finished with the second class 1351 base XP, 5.6k damage with that 832 assistance. I was debating just leaving the 2 minutes in, but it's literally 2 minutes of driving to try and get to those last 2 heavy tanks, and we don't get anywhere near. And this, like I said, this video is always going to be about 42 minutes or something like that, so save you guys the time, save myself the commentary over absolutely nothing happening. And we're on to the final replay, and this is perfect. This is the perfect map for the Murat, because we've got good camo, we've got fantastic view range, which means we can absolutely abuse the middle position on G7 on Westfield. And Westfield is a very, very good map for this tank, and this is probably the best game I've had in terms of combined, well, the best game I've had generally in this tank, because obviously I think the 5.6 is the best I've done in damage terms so far, but in terms of combined, this is a pretty damn big game, because that's what it is. I did have another game on prop where I did about 1,200 damage, but again, I was more like a light tank. I ended up doing 8.5k spotting. And yeah, I've not really had any big damage games in it, but I've just had a lot of games where, again, it's more light tanky games, and I just think that's the way I've been playing it. I've been playing it as that aggressive spotter, and it's been really working out for me. In terms of damage, maybe not so much, but in terms of the general combined, absolutely. And as you can see so far, we're already up to 2.6k assistance with 708 damage in the first minute of the game, and we spotted this paladin and the other tank that was climbing. That paladin gets absolutely eviscerated. Now there's a Centurion AVRE climbing, and we get our 3 shots into him again. We're using the bush mechanics as much as possible. We're pulling back and then firing through the bushes, and we are getting the assistance on that guy. He ends up getting unspotted though, that AVRE. We really need that AVRE to get spotted and gone, so we pull forward through the bushes so that we can see him. We're just waiting for our clip. Thankfully, that AVRE misses the blind fire. That would have been devastating. again, we're not even 2 minutes into the game. We're up to 6.7k assistance with 1800 damage. We just got the final shell in the clip. As we pop the shell in, it basically gives us the whole, hey, you've killed it. No, we didn't. We didn't kill it. The other Murat ended up finishing it off. It just gave us all the gratification, colours and all that sort of stuff, and yeah, we didn't get it. But we end up getting the spotting on that Murat behind us as well, which puts us onto 7k assistance, and we're going to poke up and see if we can spot anything else over here. We end up seeing the T-62A. Unfortunately, we missed the snapshot into the T-62A, and we get one shot into the Pantera there. We end up getting detected, which is like, oh, okay, there's something else somewhere. We're not taking those hits. While we're reloading, we may as well pull back and stay safe. There's definitely something still in their base, which we've got to be very, very careful of. So I was like, okay, let's see if we can poke round and spot it, but we don't see anything as we poke through that little gap. Sometimes if you poke that little gap in the rocks there, you can, if you've got really good view range, spot things in their base, but yeah, we couldn't quite spot that. Now there's a T-58 coming, and I was thinking, okay, maybe that's what was shooting at us from earlier. We get 2 shots into his cheek, we've got 1 shot left, and unfortunately we end up bouncing on his turret cheek there. We end up bouncing the shot from the Patriot though, and that was something that was over there. And we're just going to wait for our reload once again. We're up to 7.1k assistance with 3k damage so far, which is 10k combined already. And we're just waiting for the reload of the tank. And that Orthrus is not quite round the corner enough for us to get a shot at him, and he gets shut down by the 65T. The T-58 Heavy gets shut down by 4202. We know where that Patriot is, so what? And he's still firing at my 4202, as you can see. So we're going to go try and push forward to spot for my 4202 to shoot him. And we end up getting spotted. It's like, hello, Mr. Patriot. We poke over, get a shot at him. It's like, oh, God, that's also a Death Star there. We've got to be very, very careful at Death Star. We don't want to get shut down at this point. And as we poke over, we see that we got a shot into this Lorraine. We can finish it off with 1 shot. And unfortunately, we don't actually roll high enough to finish him off. We've got 1 shell left. Can't quite see the T-62A. But we do manage to get the final shot in to shut down the Death Star. And with that, there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team with 7.5k assistance, 3.9k damage so far. Just waiting for the reload. Once again, I'm hoping to get the reload in so I can get some shots into this artillery, because that would be great if I could. But unfortunately, we don't quite get the shot into him. We are going to be loading in time to get a shot into this T-62A though, and thankfully for me, he ends up driving over, so we get the shot on the move into the T-62A, and he ends up getting shut down by artillery. And we finish the game with a really nice total for the Projet Murat. We finished with the epic victory. Top of the team, 1 kill, 4.3k damage, 7.5k assistance. The Confederate, the first class, 1683 base XP. A really good, solid game for a tank that is pretty damn good. It's pretty damn okay. And again, for 4,000 gold, or 6,000 gold with the ultimate pass, but it's basically 4,000 gold because you get 2k gold back. Absolutely well worth it. Always worth to pick up the ultimate pass tier 10s. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.